Hello and welcome to What Matters in Innovation. I'm Kaitlin Milliken from Innovation Leader. I'm joined by our CEO, Scott Kirsner, and Alex Slawsby, CEO of Derisk. In the show, we chat about different headlines that innovators at big companies need to know to push their organizations forward. Scott, why don't you kick us off with item number one?
Well, there were two big stories this week about smart tires, basically putting sensors into tires on cars and trucks and pulling data out of them that's going to help you maybe know that something's going wrong before the tire blows out or you have to deal with a flat. Maybe for fleets, you'll be able to know when it's time to replace tires or put new treads on them. We saw that Goodyear and Continental and Pirelli and Bridgestone are all interested in smart tires. The one price point I saw was Goodyear saying that it'll add about $100 to the annual cost of maintaining your car. And it starts to get Goodyear into the software as a service business, right? When they're talking about an annual cost for getting data out of these tires, $100 a year adds up, over the life of a car pretty quickly to a new $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 expense. And I do think this stuff is interesting, in part because it starts to generate lots of data that these tire companies could sell to cities and towns to think about, how do you prioritize road repairs where the roads have degraded the fastest. But to me, Alex, I'd be curious to hear your take. This is another example of an Internet of Things technology. We've been talking about IoT since 1999. Where the challenge is not, does the technology work, but the challenge is, can you effectively sell and market this technology when it's going to add cost to a product that you're already buying?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the challenge is really desirability. People tend to like the idea of, hey, I can manage this thing from that place on my phone, or I can get alerts from it, and maybe I can only go to the washer when it's ready, that sort of a thing. I think the rub is when you have to pay, and I think that's what consumers struggle with. I think the B2B model is interesting, right? So when you talk about fleets, the fact that they could get data, big employers who've got lots of vehicles, how are the vehicles being used? What's the maintenance life? I mean, if the tires are generating data like that, it could very well be worth them to spend that money because it could help them save money over the long run.
That's really interesting. I think the B2B model will matter about size of organization and existing technological infrastructure. A digitally forward company may be able to react to that data and use it very quickly, whereas something like a large municipality where the structure is larger, there's more bureaucracy, it may take a little bit more time. I also have a data story for us this week. Starting July 8th, you'll be able to get a little bit more bang for your Big Mac at McDonald's. The company is introducing a loyalty program where purchases can lead to points where you can pick up free McNuggets or hash browns, a frappe. This is really interesting because McDonald's is joining companies like Starbucks and Chipotle in implementing a loyalty program, and it feels reactionary. Companies like Apple and Google have made it easier for consumers to opt out of app tracking. So this is another way to get first-party data. Scott, does this feel like it's McDonald's following fast, or is it a story of a company lagging behind?
Well, first of all, I think if McDonald's has started calling their milkshakes frappes, maybe they're chasing Starbucks and trying to level up into the higher priced product. I just feel like McDonald's was a fast food pioneer back in the 50s, right? With, the way they got consistency and quality out to all of those restaurant locations and, innovating new products and new machinery to make those products. These days, I just feel like they're a digital laggard, to be honest. The last time I tried to use their app, it didn't quite understand what stores were open and closed, which was really frustrating. And then I did just download the recent app with loyalty built into it, and it offered me like 5 or 6 deals for free French fries. So I think I'm going to go to McDonald's now and see if I can bankrupt them by just eating an endless stream of free French fries.
Well, what a way to generate data. Just give people free things so they come in and use the apps and come to the stores. So win-win. McDonald's gets the business, that loyalty, and also the data, right? For me, I wanted to talk just a little bit about where we are with the return to work and the return to business travel, right? So pre-pandemic, we were in the office 9 to 5 or more. People were sitting in commutes. People were on planes, earning points and miles, generally spending a lot of time doing work stuff and away from home and away from their families. Now that people are vaccinated and we're beginning to, I guess, ask that question, do we return to the past? A lot of data coming out recently suggests that people aren't really interested in doing that. So there was a survey in May just released, where out of 1,000 US adults polled, 39% said they'd consider quitting if their bosses weren't flexible about working from home. And 49% of the respondents who said they would quit were millennials and Gen Z. So folks who are much more accustomed to working digitally. There was also some data point around of 2,000 people surveyed, a different survey, something like 60% would absolutely look for a new job if they couldn't continue remote work. So that's a big deal. And then a final piece on that business travel piece, there was again a survey of people who were road warriors in the past, and it was something like only 11% said, hey, they'd get back on the road in the next 6 months. And I think it was something like 30% said that they would never feel safe getting back on the road. So it really is a big change. I personally think some sectors may go back. I think financial services, road shows, maybe sales, things where you've got to be there. But I think in a lot of sectors, people are going to say, you know something, I can get the vast majority of work done. I can be almost as effective as I was, and I can get all those benefits back, being from home, being with my family, not commuting and things like that. So Scott, curious what you think about it, but I think the changes are here for good.
Well, we sort of have a vested interest in this because Innovation Leader puts together conferences that we like business people to come to. And I am hoping we'll get back to that towards the end of this year. But I just am a believer that, look, we're not going to be traveling for business the way that we were before, where you go on these trips where you're like, I'm not really sure that I know exactly why I'm going to this trade show, or why am I going to a 2-hour meeting that's going to take me 2 days of travel to get to, right? So I do think there's going to be a lower rate of showing up in the office and being on the road. But I just believe that, whether it's sales or partnering or client service, like the in-person relationships, and whether it's eating meals or going for a walk or, playing some golf or playing some tennis with people, that there is like value that we've lost there in the world of Zoom.
Just to touch on the idea of employee retention, flexibility can look different for different types of positions. Folks who are in business development may not be able to work from home or never travel for business again, but maybe once they get back from a long stint away and on the road, they're able to work from home for a few days to catch up on life maintenance. Having a degree of flexibility can also be super helpful for folks who are in caregiving situations of either older adults or children, as well as people with income restrictions where they may not be able to live very close to the office. Having that degree of flexibility can help create a more equitable environment for people, which is always helpful and lead to better, more productive work. We do have one last thing we want to leave with our viewers. Scott, take it away.
All right. Thanks, Katie. So we just put together an instant assessment called the Innovation Deficit Assessment to understand, does your organization have some hindrances coming out of the last 14 or 15 months in terms of having paid attention to things that weren't necessarily deploying new technologies or digitizing or rolling out new products and services. We'll put the link below, but thanks, Alex. Thanks, Katie. Thanks, everybody, for watching.